No, it's not. So first of all, and I have had my objections to the job that Karine Jean-Pierre did, but she worked in politics for 21 years, 5 presidential campaigns, and worked in 2 administrations.
A staunch Trump loyalist and unapologetic Gen Z conservative, Leavitt's sharp rhetoric and bold social media presence have already made waves.
What happens when you mix fiery political drama with a splash of daytime television chaos? You get a showdown so intense it sends shockwaves across the media landscape. Yes, we're talking about the explosive clash between Karoline Leavitt, the youngest ever White House press secretary, and the hosts of The View. Buckle up, because this story has everything. From biting remarks to jaw-dropping revelations that left Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg scrambling for cover. If you thought daytime TV was all fluff and filler, think again.
Earning a hefty 6-figure salary, she is not just the face of the president's second term, she's also the voice promising to shake up how the White House communicates.
So picture this. Karoline Leavitt, just 27 years old, steps into her role as Donald Trump's press secretary, a historic moment that should have been celebrated. But instead, it turned into a battlefield, with The View hosts taking aim at her with some of the most eye-rolling jabs you can imagine. Now, here's why this matters. Leavitt didn't just waltz into the White House with a smile and good intentions. She came in swinging. During her very first briefing, she announced sweeping changes to the press room, promising to shake up the old-school media hierarchy. No more coddling legacy outlets. Instead, she opened the floor to independent voices like podcasters and social media influencers. According to Leavitt, millions of Americans, especially young people, have turned from traditional television outlets and newspapers to consume their news from podcasts, blogs, social media, and other independent outlets. Bold move, right? Well, not everyone thought so.
Speaking of Donald Trump, I was stunned and amazed by his new White House spokeswoman today. She's actually the youngest ever in that job.
Cue the drama from The View, where the hosts couldn't wait to sink their teeth into this fresh-faced political powerhouse. Joy Behar led the charge with what many are calling a shockingly dismissive comment. She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10, Behar snarked. Imagine that, reducing Leavitt's qualifications to her appearance. The backlash was immediate and brutal, with critics slamming Behar for hypocrisy and, let's face it, an outdated take in a world where women are breaking barriers left and right. One person on social media wrote, "If I was a better human, I'd be embarrassed for her. But Joy Behar is a miserable person who needs everyone else to be miserable too."
Karoline Leavitt, she's just 27 years old. But boy, was she giving it to the Trump haters in her first White House briefing.
But wait, it gets even juicier. Whoopi Goldberg didn't exactly stay on the sidelines. She launched into a lengthy critique of Leavitt's remarks during the press briefing, especially the part where Leavitt vowed no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness in federal agencies. Whoopi's response? A fiery lecture about how wokeness was the reason Leavitt even had her job.
Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you.
It was a mic drop moment, or at least it was supposed to be. Instead, it came off as condescending to many, with critics accusing Goldberg of twisting the meaning of wokeness to fit her narrative.
Without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table.
And let's not forget Sunny Hostin, who chimed in with her own doubts about Leavitt's media reforms. Hostin scoffed at the idea of letting independent journalists and influencers into the briefing room, claiming they weren't qualified and calling it the rise of mediocrity. Ouch. The irony here? The View has long branded itself as a platform for diverse voices, yet they seemed awfully quick to dismiss voices that fall outside the mainstream media bubble. One fan comment summed it up best: "The View doesn't even know what a woman is." Another declared, "Cancel The View. I can't wait until they are off the air." Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt wasn't just sitting back and taking these hits. Oh no, she clapped back in the most strategic way possible, by doubling down on her criticisms of legacy media. During her briefing, she called out outlets like The View for losing the trust of everyday Americans. The lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in the country about this president, about his family, and about this administration will no longer be tolerated, she said. And just to drive the point home, Leavitt announced the restoration of press passes for 440 journalists who had been sidelined during the previous administration. Talk about a power move.
Bang, Rowan, I couldn't do that at 27. No nonsense, straight to the point, courage, detail.
But let's rewind a bit, because there's another layer to this drama that can't be ignored. The hosts of The View clearly weren't just reacting to Leavitt's policies, they were reacting to her as a person. By framing her as a so-called 10, Joy Behar didn't just insult Leavitt, she insulted every woman who's ever fought to be seen as more than just her appearance. And Whoopi's lecture about wokeness? It felt like an attempt to undermine Leavitt's intelligence and understanding of the issues at hand. For a show that prides itself on empowering women, this was a major misstep, and the internet wasn't shy about calling them out. One user remarked, "If a Republican said anything remotely like that, they would be pilloried."
Karoline Leavitt is the press secretary at the White House, doing a great job.
Such a great job that the ladies of The View feel the green monster coming upon them.
This isn't the first time The View has been accused of targeting conservative women with personal attacks. Remember when they went after former White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany? Back then, the panel didn't hold back their disdain, often dismissing her as a mouthpiece for Trump, despite her sharp legal background and ability to handle some of the toughest press rooms in modern history. It seems there's a pattern here. Strong, articulate women who don't align with their political views get reduced to caricatures. And yet, when the tables are turned, The View is quick to cry foul over perceived slights against liberal women in power. Many fans have pointed out this glaring double standard, calling it nothing short of hypocrisy.
They really don't like this woman. She's a good communicator. And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt was picked for the role.
What's even more telling is how The View hosts seem to underestimate the intelligence of their own audience. By focusing on petty jabs and dismissive remarks, they risk alienating viewers who see through the noise. Social media reactions suggest that people are tired of the condescension and want real discussions about issues, not schoolyard insults. One user summed it up perfectly. They think we're too dumb to notice, but we see it. They don't want to debate, they want to destroy. It's a sentiment that resonates far beyond just the Karoline Leavitt drama, touching on a deeper frustration with the state of mainstream political discourse.
But even factoring in that she's a nice-looking lady, I love that the Liv's attacks on conservatives right now are that we're hot and cool.
And then there's the irony of The View accusing Leavitt of being unprepared or unqualified. Let's not forget that Leavitt has already logged years of experience in both the Trump administration and on Capitol Hill. She's managed high-stakes communications under immense pressure and did it all while breaking barriers as a young professional in a cutthroat environment. Compare that to some of the hosts on the show who've built their platforms on celebrity status rather than policy expertise. The contrast couldn't be starker, and it's no wonder that fans are flocking to Leavitt's defense, seeing her as a breath of fresh air in a world filled with tired talking points. What we're seeing isn't just a clash between Karoline Leavitt and The View, it's a microcosm of a much larger battle, the fight between traditional media and the new wave of alternative platforms. By opening the briefing room to independent outlets, Leavitt is challenging a system that has long been dominated by a select few. And while critics may scoff, the numbers don't lie. Millions of Americans are turning to podcasts, blogs, and social media for their news, bypassing traditional networks entirely. This shift terrifies legacy media, which explains why The View hosts reacted so strongly. It's not just about Leavitt, it's about the potential loss of their influence. And let's not overlook the hypocrisy. Goldberg passionately defended wokeness as a force for good, citing past struggles for equality. But where was that same passion when Joy Behar reduced Leavitt's accomplishments to her looks? If The View truly stands for empowerment and equality, their actions need to match their words. Instead, they came across as defensive, out of touch, and frankly threatened by a young woman who's unafraid to call them out. Of course, this wouldn't be a proper political drama without some outside commentary to spice things up. Enter Greg Gutfeld, who delivered his own scathing take on the situation, even throwing in a jab at Joy Behar. If Karoline is a 10, where does that leave Joy, he quipped. It was a low blow, sure, but it mirrored the kind of rhetoric The View had already dished out. The internet erupted, with fans laughing at the irony and pointing out the double standards at play.
Isn't it rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on looks?
So where does this leave us? On one hand, we have Karoline Leavitt, a rising star who's making waves with her bold approach to media relations. On the other, we have The View, a show that seems increasingly disconnected from the changing media landscape. The clash between these two forces is more than just entertaining. It's a reflection of the shifting tides in American politics and culture. But here's the real question. Is this the beginning of the end for The View? With fans calling for the show to be canceled and their credibility taking hit after hit, it's hard to ignore the writing on the wall. Meanwhile, Leavitt is gaining momentum, proving that she's not just a pretty face, but a formidable force in the world of politics.
And Karoline Leavitt isn't just making headlines, she's also rewriting history. At 27, the New Hampshire native has become the youngest White House press secretary ever.
So, what do you think? Are legacy media outlets like The View losing their grip on the narrative? Or will they find a way to bounce back? And is Karoline Leavitt the disruptor we didn't know we needed, or just another polarizing figure in an already divided landscape? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to stay tuned. This story is far from over.